Today is April 10th, and I'm Doc Rob the Super. Today I'm going to show you how to make your own homemade mask. I've got a couple masks here. One is a very simple, kind of straightforward mask that you can put in over your face. And this one actually has a little graphic inside, so when it stretches over your face. And then there's another mask that we make that looks kind of like this one that you can put over your face and over your ears, and it covers this way. Both of these masks are pretty easy to make, and I kind of use my own pattern to kind of get things started. So hopefully what I show you will help you. The first thing I do in order to make this mask is I have a pattern, and I actually created this pattern, and the pattern is in a 7, I want to say in the center, by 7, and that's kind of from tip to bottom there, about 7 by 7. And what I'll do is I got it out of just some cardstock that I had up in my home office, and I kind of cut this out, and I'll just kind of show you what that looks like, and I'll be more than happy to post the pattern that I have online so you can see that. And at the end, when you get finished, regardless what fabric you make it out of, you'll have something that looks kind of like this. So the first thing you do whenever you're trying to make a mask is you take your pattern and you trace your pattern. Now I just use a regular old Sharpie, and this, the material that I have right now is nothing more than a bandana. The other that this was out of is actually some fabric that I actually got from Walmart. You can make it out of remnants if you want to. But basically I trace around it with a marker, and you'll get all of these shapes, and you need 4 of these because it's a double. Whenever you get finished, you'll have to put 2 of these patches together on top of each other in order to get something done. Now you have your patterns cut just like I did, and you'll probably notice that there's gray on the outside of them from where I used the marker to actually trace around the pattern. Don't worry about that. We're actually going to sew these pieces together, and at the end we'll have everything turned inside out, and so you won't see it. The next thing I do is try to pin my pattern together so whenever I get ready to get over to the sewing machine, it doesn't bind up on me. And because the sewing machine, the foot of the sewing machine reel is about, maybe a 1/2 inch thick, I try to move my little pieces back so it gives room for the sewing foot to kind of move forward without getting bound up. The purpose of me actually pinning this is really just to make sure that the parts are kind of aligned. I want them aligned when I put them together, because we're going to put these together when it's all over. All right, now when you get ready to sew this, I really am pulling together from what my daughter actually had. This is her sewing machine when she was in high school, and she was working on some projects, and I just borrowed it and asked her if I could get it out of the garage during this pandemic time and see if I could practice doing a little sewing, and of course she obliged, and so here we go. Now I love to say this right up front because I'm the son of a mother who was a home ec teacher in Wichita, Kansas, and so she had a requirement for all of her boys when we grew up that we all knew how to cook for ourselves, clean for ourselves, and also sew. And she was a home ec teacher, so big shout out to Maxine Bostic, because the reason I actually know how to do this is because of her. So the first thing I did, of course, was thread your machine. And if you need help doing that, then maybe we'll make another video doing that. But at any rate, this is what we do in order to do it. And I have the foot down, and you have to keep guiding the cloth through, and it will bind on you if you don't kind of keep it straight. But I keep her pretty close to the edge, so that way it gives room for the foot all the way through. And then I kind of slow up right at the end, and then I want to kind of do a reverse stitch, so that way it's kind of tight at the end all the way out. I lift my foot, lift up the needle, pull it out there, and I've got one edge down. Now what we're going to do is we're really going to do two sides of this. We're not going to do the tail or the end of it, and we're not going to do the top yet. We're going to tie those together afterwards, but we're going to just do two sides right up front as we get started. Make sure you got your area clear down there below, or else it'll bind on you again. Bind on you. I'm chuckling as I'm doing this. A big shout out to my mom, because she taught us how to sew on buttons, and she had a Singer sewing machine, and it's one of those things that I chuckle about now, because as a superintendent, most people have no idea what I know how to do. Maybe all I can do is be a principal or be a superintendent, but we actually are kind of our own jacks of all trades, but in this case definitely a master of none. And when you get finished, yours will look like this. And we'll come back later to what we're going to do once I get the other one sewn. And that's what I'm going to do next. So now we have our two pieces that we kind of had ironed and pulled apart. And now we're just going to sew together just the fronts of those two pieces, kind of as I mentioned. But what I did was, of course, I pinned it a little far back so I can make sure the foot can sit down, and then I don't have to worry so much about the rest of it. So we'll start off with this, and we'll see how she goes. And I always do a little back stitch on there just to make sure everything is tight. And we'll kind of keep that foot as close as we can to that edge to give us maximum breathing room, right? And then we back stitch on the end. Lift up your foot. Sure that needle's up. Pull it all the way out. Pull your pins out. Of course, clip the excess thread, and we'll do some more cleanup a little later on. But basically, that's it. And there you have it.